Until today, Bharat Khanna worked here at the Heatherbrae 7-Eleven convenience store just north of Newcastle on the New South Wales mid-north coast. But not anymore.
I would call myself a modern century slave, where all my rights are gone.
He came here from India to study a Masters in International Business at Macquarie University and got a job at 7-Eleven to make ends meet. But in a similar claim to many others around the country, he says he was expected to work on $13 an hour for far more than the 20 hours his visa permitted.
I was asked to work more than 40 hours, sometimes 50 hours, 55 hours, and we had to work because we had no, if we say no, the next day we are out of it. We will not find any other job.
Bharat's returning to India briefly to marry next week. When he told his boss on his return he only wanted to work 20 hours, he says he was told that's impossible.
And he told me that I don't have any more work for you, I don't require your service.
It's a claim his employer today denied.
When you've gone down to your local 7-Eleven store where you walk in, you buy your milk and bread, you expect that the people who are serving you are actually going to get a fair day's pay.
This is a complete abuse of people in vulnerable situations, students on visas with a whole host of limitations, tricked into going beyond that, and then actually being told that, by the way, you're going to have to accept substandard wages, illegal wages.
This week, Four Corners chronicled many other cases of excessive work hours and underpayment within the 7-Eleven network.
So to all intents and purposes, this looks right.
Yes, that's how it works. It's exactly the half number of hours, but the double the pay. So that'll be.
It was revealed how franchisees filled in fake timesheets to show their employees worked half or less the hours that they actually worked.
If I compare that date so that immigration wouldn't know about the hours that you work, so that's when I started thinking, okay, this is actually a scam.
This is a business model in which people appear to have been coached about how to scam wages and saying, well, you know, if you don't continue to work for me basically on whatever terms I say, I'll report you and you will lose your visa. Now, this is an untenable situation. This is exploitation in every suburb across the country.
7-Eleven's not the only iconic brand accused of worker underpayment and exploitation. Earlier this year, 730 exposed widespread claims that Australia Post contractors were underpaying post and parcel delivery drivers. In one case, as little as $10 an hour.
Police, open the door!
Last month, in a pre-dawn raid, a large Melbourne-based contractor and 3 associates were arrested, accused of running a $9 million visa scam to recruit foreign students as Australia Post delivery drivers for minimal pay. Now 730 has learnt that workers are being underpaid at one of South Australia's fastest growing franchises, On the Run, with more than 120 stores. Former employee Glenn Whale was 17 when he began as a trainee at a store like this.
A traineeship was 6 months, underpaid on $12.25 an hour. Weekend rates apply another $1.10, I think.
What kind of shifts were you doing?
Weekend night shifts, 10 p.m. to 6:30 a.m.
He's now working as an apprentice electrician after walking away from the so-called traineeship that was supposed to lead to an increase in pay.
I was on a traineeship to nowhere. They told us we'd be getting paid $18, $19 an hour after this traineeship.
10 months later, Glenn Whale was still on a trainee's wage with no end in sight. He left shortly after.
I was living off of $180 a week and Centrelink every fortnight. It was tight.
On the Run's owner, the Peregrine Corporation told 730 its traineeships are overseen by an independent body accountable to the South Australian and federal governments, and any issues are rectified immediately. The Fair Work Ombudsman told 7:30 it's now assessing cases involving on-the-run stores. The Ombudsman has also previously raided individual 7-Eleven stores, but according to Senator Deb O'Neill, to little avail.
The fact that they have done this on 3 previous occasions and the practice continues is a signal that there's something wrong.
For the exploited students to come forward, says the union, the federal government must declare an amnesty.
My urgent message to Peter Dutton and the Abbott government is to step into this space, provide the amnesty for these student visa workers, make sure that they can put their hand up and come forward, feeling confident that they're not going to be put on a plane.
Minister Dutton was non-committal at today's press conference, although if you watch carefully, his Border Force Commissioner Roman Quadfleeg did mutter it was under consideration.
And will you grant amnesty for the 7-Eleven workers that could face losing their visas after being exploited by their bosses?
Well, look, I think any of those matters obviously need to be properly investigated and the appropriate response be provided at the time, but there'll be a process for that to go through and we can make comment on that in due course.
7-Eleven's head office was unavailable for comment today for 7:30. It's denied complicity in the underpayments and says it'll soon appoint an independent panel to review staff underpayments. For Senator O'Neill, though, it comes too little, too late.
Australians believe in fairness. The story has been told about a large group of people, guests in our country, who are being exploited. The flow-on effects are bad for those people, they're bad for the communities, they're bad for small businesses, they're bad for jobs, they're bad for workers of all kinds. We need to make sure that something happens about this now.